An island with an active volcano that could erupt at any moment. Nearby are two smaller, completely empty islands. There's nothing on them, but it's on these that I'm going to build my farm. There's also a fourth island, far from the others and full of trees. Wood that could be worth an absolute fortune. But there's just one problem. I don't know how to reach it. First, I must earn enough for the journey and expand the farm sufficiently to afford a boat and escape this island before its inevitable demise, which could happen any day now. I'm starting with $0, just a tent and a fishing rod. No gear, no plan. Actually, there's just one. Go fishing, because there's nothing else I can do. I find the very first spot by the shore that looks promising. I cast my line and patiently wait. Only silence, peace, and the waves. And the volcano to my left, just so I don't ever forget the precarious situation I'm in. After a moment something bites, a short fight, and I manage to catch a salmon. €100 doesn't sound like much, but for someone who had absolutely zero 5 minutes ago, it feels like I've won the lottery. The problem is, I need €1,000 for a chainsaw. No saw, no trees from the other island, no wood, no progress. So I cast again, and again, and again. I was waiting again, when I felt a tug. It turned out my fishing line had snagged on an old, dirty, unsightly tire. As you can see, it's not just fish swimming in this ocean. Someone was here before and clearly didn't care about ecology. Oh well, I can't stop the volcano with a tire. I cast again. Then silence, longer than the last time. I was just about to think I'd pull out another boot or a beer can again, but then suddenly, a sharp tug. A strong one. Something big is on the end of this line. I fight it for a good while and finally pull out a salmon worth €400. Suddenly I'm already halfway towards getting that chainsaw. Maybe this island isn't so bad after all. Well, at least until you look towards the volcano. Another salmon, smaller this time, €100. Not every fish must be a record. What's important is the balance grows. Next fish bites instantly. From the first second it pulls like crazy and breaks free. Well, not every fish is willing to cooperate with my escape plan from the island, it seems. Another fish, just a standard trout, but it still adds an extra €100 to our budget. Only 300 more to reach 1,000. I'm waiting a long time again, but finally, a bite. I reel it in quickly and easily. Too easily. I pulled out a bucket. An empty bucket. I think there's more trash in this ocean than fish. I'm only €300 away from my goal. I cast my line and catch a trout. Bigger than the last one, €200. Now I just need 100 more to reach my goal. Just one fish. Literally one fish separates me from a chainsaw and real earnings. Finally, I caught a salmon, worth €200 this time. So I've got €1,100 in my account, which means no more fishing. Time to trade the fishing rod for something that makes a bit more noise. I'm buying a chainsaw and making my way towards the trees. That's where the real work begins. The first tree is down. The saw goes through the trunk like butter. Probably the best investment in my life. I need to cut it into smaller pieces because I can't move it whole. Piece by piece, methodically. It's hard work, but at least I can see the results right away. Unlike staring at the water with a fishing rod for half the day, I'm carrying it piece by piece to the collecting point. It's a lot of hard work, but because I cut everything into much smaller pieces, it actually becomes manageable. I sell it and €5,400 land in my account. And that's just for one tree. I immediately cut down another one and started chopping it into smaller parts to transport it all to the collecting point. I'm starting to get the hang of this. I carry it piece by piece. I sell it, and another €5,000 hit my account. It's time to make a real investment. I'm heading to the shop right now to purchase a sheep pen and 10 sheep. The plan is simple. Trees provide quick cash, but the sheep will be earning for me in the background while I continue to cut down more trees. They'll be doing their own thing. On this island, everyone's gotta work. Even the sheep. The sheep need to be fed, and for mowing grass, I need a tractor. That's why I cut down another tree, and I'm hauling it to the collecting point in pieces. I'll earn approximately €5,000 from this, allowing me to afford to purchase a tractor. After selling the wood, I have €6,900 in my account, so I go to the shop and buy a tractor for $5,900. All I'm missing now is a mower that I can easily connect to this tractor. However, I very quickly realized that I couldn't afford a mower for it. I have the tractor, but without a mower it's just an expensive toy. Well, another tree's down, and it's getting faster now. With every tree I'm getting into a better rhythm. Cut, carry, sell. yet another tree, and once again over 5,000 euros. I finally found the ideal mower. 4,100 euros. Cheap, but wide. It should do the job. And on top of that, the cheapest machine for collecting grass on the market. Just 200 euros. Only 200 euros for an agricultural machine to collect grass. Suspiciously cheap, but I can't be picky. We'll see if there's a catch. Something other than a saw and trees, I'm on the tractor, hooking up the mower, and off we go. As I always have to mention, my absolute favorite activity in farming is precisely the task of mowing the grass. And if you'd also like to play on this map, or on any of my other maps, and utilize the modifications I use, I invite you to check out my Patreon. You'll find everything there. I also encourage you to subscribe to my channel and like the video. If you have the option, let me know in the comments what country you're watching from, and if the dubbing in your language sounds good. And now it's time to test this wonderful 200 euro machine. First catch, you don't connect this to a tractor, and pushing this machine by hand over uneven terrain, that's not a pleasant experience at all. But alright, I think to myself it's really not that bad. And then I try to unload it, and it just turns out that I can't. Grass goes in, but it doesn't come out. 200 euros for a machine that just eats grass. They sold me some junk. Oh well, on this island even shopping is gambling. I need to quickly earn enough for a decent trailer for collecting grass. One that I can hook up to the tractor so I don't have to push it by hand. A lesson for the future. If something costs 200 euros, there's probably a reason. New self-loading trailer, 8,000 euros. Hook it to a tractor, and you'll see the difference fast. I'm collecting the grass I mowed earlier. It's going instantly. I pull up to the enclosure, unload it, and the sheep stare at me as if I'd brought them a measly snack, not a proper dinner. It's definitely not enough. I'm heading out to mow some more. One more trailer should do it, but I'd rather mow a little extra just in case. Better for them to have too much than too little. Hungry sheep are not productive, and I need every animal on this island working towards my escape. Taking advantage of this free moment, I have a discount code for you to buy a gaming chair or an ergonomic chair. All the information is in the description, of course. I personally use the ergonomic chair, and there's a link to that too. I highly recommend it. It's really comfortable and at a great price, especially with the discount code. I'm unloading everything and taking a good look. On the surface, it seems perfectly fine. Trough is full. The sheep are happy. They're not giving me that reproachful look anymore. There's still some grass left to collect in the field, so I'll grab it and head straight to the pen. I'm not leaving food on the ground, not when I've got 10 hungry sheep to feed. Time for something that should have been done a long time ago, a bridge to the fourth island. The one full of trees that I couldn't get to before because of the deep ditch surrounding it. I don't have much money left in my account, so I probably can't build a luxurious construction. A simple wooden bridge, as long as it can hold the weight of my tractor. That's good enough for me. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to work. On this island, aesthetics are truly the very last thing on my mind. The bridge is up, an island with trees within reach, but there's no point going there without a decent wood trailer. Up to this point, I've carried everything on my own back, and that's okay for just one tree, but there are dozens of them waiting over there. I'm not running back and forth over that bridge 100 times, carrying it piece by piece. I cut down the last tree left on this side, I sold it, and I'm heading straight to the shop. It's finally time to get properly equipped. I've invested 3,800 euros, and with that, I'm now heading onto the fourth island with a brand new trailer, ready to start felling the first trees. Here, money literally grows on trees. My new equipment truly makes this work much easier, so it's going at lightning speed. I know this will help me quickly earn money for the essentials and bring me closer to escaping the island. I'm getting back to mowing, because every patch of green on this island has to earn its keep. The grass won't just sit there. In the meantime, I bought a machine that will make specific use of it. You can't see it yet. I'm keeping it a secret, but you'll soon see what it is and why I needed it so badly. Another piece of the puzzle is falling into its spot. Right after mowing, I have to make another trip to the island with the trees, because my plans require increasing financial outlays. This time the work is progressing exceptionally smoothly. Cutting and transporting the trees are easy and pleasant, and I truly feel like I'm finally in command of this entire area. Each successive log landing on the trailer means pure profit for me, which brings me closer to acquiring a grass bale wrapper. I absolutely need this machine to move on to the new stage of the economy, and the very fact that I need it should give you a substantial hint. So what did I buy after my first visit to the forest? I hauled a few trees to the collecting point and sold them. I had over 20,000 euros in my account, which meant I could comfortably afford to purchase a bale wrapper for 14,000 euros. I still need to mow a bit more grass, because my plan involves silage production on a large scale. I will need a significant amount of grass bales for this endeavor. I am hoping for immense profits. Every square meter of green space presents an opportunity to more quickly finance my getaway. Machines are running, grass is disappearing, and in my mind, I am converting every grass pile into euros, inching closer to my goal. On this island, there's no room for half measures. I'm trying to do everything properly, otherwise I won't be able to escape before the volcano erupts. The time has come to use that mysterious machine I bought earlier. As you might have already guessed, this is a baling press, specifically a class baling press. It's the smallest machine on the market for small bales, but the important thing is that it works. This investment is supposed to bring me a specific profit. I'm counting on the cost of purchase to pay off with the very first sale of silage. As you might have noticed, I haven't used any raker before to form nice rows of grass. For now, such luxuries are simply beyond my means. Every new machine sets me back thousands of euros, translating to at least one more tree to fell and transport. And honestly, I just don't have the time to spare for that. Besides, this baler has such a wide working area that it will manage perfectly well, even without perfectly arranged rows. I drive a bit chaotically, grabbing what I can, but the end result is what counts. I won't let even a gram of grass go to waste. Now it's time to bring out yet another new machine. I'm entering the field with the bale wrapper. This is a key moment in my plan, because it's the only way I can turn ordinary grass into silage, which is worth much more on the market and will let me earn a lot more money. For me, every bale that gets wrapped is a guaranteed profit and a safe investment for the future. However, I'm not going to stop at just making silage. With the money that will be left in my wallet after all these purchases, I will additionally buy some more sheep. I want to maximize the potential of my pen and squeeze every last euro I can from their production. On this island, every penny and every pallet of wool counts. That's why I'm investing in anything that can bring me extra income and speed up my escape from this dangerous place. The falling rain and thick clouds are effectively ruining my plans for the rest of the day. They just make working under such conditions simply inefficient. So I decided not to fight the weather, but to go to bed earlier today to recharge my strength for the next challenges. I made my way to my tent, and the rhythmic drumming of raindrops on the fabric quickly lulled me into a deep sleep. I'm starting the next day with a concrete task, which is selling the wool that was produced overnight in our pen. Maybe there isn't a staggering amount yet, but it's always a reliable extra cash injection that brings me closer to the next point in my plan. This money will enable me to purchase a cultivator. This is an indispensable tool, crucial for preparing the soil and establishing our inaugural legitimate field. However, before I can even begin my farming endeavors, I absolutely must go and check on my most unpredictable neighbor to see what he's up to. I look towards the volcano. Although smoke is still rising from the crater, it doesn't look so threatening today. I'm already a little less stressed by the sight, which lets me focus on my work, instead of constantly looking over my shoulder in fear of lava. After making sure the volcano is leaving me alone for now, I immediately get to work marking out the boundaries of my first field. I really need to approach this very carefully, because my current budget doesn't allow for the purchase of powerful seeders or efficient harvesters, so attempting to create a large area would undoubtedly result in a logistical catastrophe. I also don't want to spend half the day just preparing the soil, because time is a scarce commodity on this island. Therefore, my initial field will be modest, compact, and precisely tailored to accommodate my present basic equipment. Although I haven't made a final decision on the specific grain yet, one thing is absolutely certain. It must be something that guarantees me a quick and substantial profit with the least amount of effort. I also have a plan in mind to soon bring another type of animal to the farm, so I'm considering planting something that will ultimately serve as feed. I want this field to be the foundation for a new branch of my business, one that will let me diversify my income and become less dependent on just selling wood. Every single square meter I'm marking out right now must contribute to my future freedom, before that smoking giant on the left remembers its devastating destructive potential. To earn money for seeds and all the necessary fertilizers, I had to visit the forest island again and sell a few solid trees. With this extra logging, I was able to finance everything necessary to kickstart my farming venture. I made over 14,000 euros from selling the wood. The cedar I purchased was quite inexpensive, which immediately gave me some reservations, but I'm deeply hopeful that I haven't been duped on quality this time around. On this island, every bad investment hurts twice as much, so I'm counting on this machine to just do its job without any nasty surprises. Now all that's left is to load it up and see how this budget-friendly equipment handles my brand new field. Finally, I can fill up our seeder and get to work, but it wasn't without some minor complications. For a while I couldn't figure out how to load the fertilizer into it at all, which was starting to get on my nerves. Luckily I sorted it out quickly, and after a few tries the machine was ready to go. Sometimes the simplest things can cause the most trouble, especially when you're rushing to get things done before the next unpredictable turn of the weather or volcanic eruption. Now that the tanks are full, there's nothing left to do but drive onto the field and start sowing my future fortune. As you can see, the seeder is working perfectly, gliding through the soil without the slightest resistance. This time my intuition didn't fail me, and thankfully I wasn't cheated by the seller. The machine is running smoothly, and the seed is going exactly where it should. I'm finally getting on the right track and starting to manage this land professionally. Before heading to the field, I spent a good while checking the prices at the collecting point, because I didn't want to risk growing a crop that would only earn me pennies. I believe I've chosen a truly excellent crop to plant, one that maintains a stable, high price regardless of the month I might decide to sell it. That gives me tremendous peace of mind, because I won't nervously have to track charts and wait for a precise selling window just to earn enough for the next machine. Now, as I watch the field gradually transform its color through my work, I feel a deep satisfaction, knowing that each pass of the seeder is a significant investment in my ultimate escape from this perilous island. Having sown the field and ensuring the seed was securely nestled in the earth, I deemed it the opportune moment to take the next crucial step in my farm's development. I chose chickens. I built them a small but functional enclosure and purchased 20 hens to begin with, and they promptly started to make themselves at home in their new surroundings. I didn't want to risk any downtime or production problems, so I immediately invested in a good supply of proper feed to ensure my new flock wouldn't go hungry, not even for a single moment. I'm really hoping that egg sales will turn into another consistent revenue stream, flowing into my pocket with minimal effort. On this island, diversification is the key to survival. If the price of wood suddenly dropped or the sheep stopped producing wool, the chickens will be my insurance policy. Each pallet of eggs brings me closer to buying my dream boat, and the sight of a vibrant, bustling coop makes me feel this once empty island is steadily transforming into a truly profitable venture. Now I just have to make sure the chickens always have something to eat and wait for the results of their work, all while keeping an eye on that smoking volcano crater. I finally need to get some order on my farm because working in this chaos is starting to overwhelm me. I could no longer bear to watch my machine sit in random spots, strewn across the island, vulnerable to volcanic dust or the pouring rain. So, I decided to buy my first garage. It's not just about aesthetics, but mainly about functionality. I want one specific place where I can service my equipment and prepare for the next stages of my escape. I'm getting right to the big cleanup. I hop in the tractor and one by one I bring all my belongings under the roof. The sight of machines lined up perfectly gives me immense satisfaction, as if I'm the true manager of this land, no longer just a random castaway with a fishing rod. Now that every machine has its designated spot, I truly feel my operations will gain even more momentum. Order on the farm means clarity of mind, and I truly need that mental focus to meticulously plan my next moves before the volcano definitively puts an end to my farming career. At the end of this intense day, the moment of truth has arrived. It's time to sell the silage I've been so eagerly waiting for. I'll hitch the trailer and collect the bales, then deliver them to the collection point. I'm curious to see how much money we'll earn from this transport, and whether investing in that wrapper, baler, and making these bales was truly worthwhile. Tell me in the comments, what methods would you employ on an island such as this to make as much money as possible in the shortest amount of time? Perhaps I'll discover something useful to incorporate into the next episode. If you spot a way to boost this video, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could do so. This way the video will reach a broader audience and my channel can experience even faster growth. Meanwhile, I'm loading the last bales and heading to the collecting point. To sum it up, this day was very fruitful and completely changed the face of my farm. I started from absolute zero. All I had was a fishing rod. I was on a deserted island where I still remain, and I desperately need to escape. Yet I'm now finishing up with 21,000 euros in my account, all from selling these bales. Let's start the new day by checking how my animals made it through the night. The sheep appear content, and their troughs are still brimming with feed, but I must intervene with the chickens and replenish their fresh grain supply. The field where I've planted rapeseed is now ready for harvest.
It's time for my very first truly significant investment, one that's set to completely transform the way I earn a living on this island. I've invested over 11,000 euros to construct a sawmill. This will enable me to stop selling timber in its raw form and instead dramatically increase my earnings from every tree I cut down. My brand new factory cannot afford to sit idle for too long, just waiting for materials. So, without further delay, I'm getting right to work and heading straight for the forest. Yet again, strenuous physical toil awaits me there, but the profound realization that raw timber will be transformed into exquisite finished products right here in my sawmill ensures that every single minute spent with a saw in hand feels like an exceptional investment. However, I absolutely must finally create a concrete system that will enable me to transport wood much more quickly, because the current chaos is merely squandering my valuable time. My biggest challenge is efficiently stacking the logs on the trailer, where every crooked tree blocks space for the next one. These protruding branches are truly bothering me, catching on the edges and making it quite difficult to properly and tightly arrange the load. I've decided that I'll first load these perfectly straight pieces of wood, devoid of branches or knots, to establish an ideal base, and then, only at the very end, add the tree crowns. This arrangement should allow me to make full use of the trailer's capacity and reduce the number of trips across that creaky bridge. I'm delivering the first batch of wood to the factory, and now comes the crucial moment to decide what I actually want to produce here, at this very spot. After a moment's thought, I decided to produce long planks. As you can see, my factory has a colossal appetite, capable of accommodating 10 times more raw material than I could manage to deliver in just this one single run. Plank production at the sawmill has already started, and we'll deal with completely filling the storage later. It's time now to sell off all the products from my animals. Right now there isn't much to sell, so the profits won't be huge, but it's always a good thing to get a little extra money in the wallet. I got just under 300 euros for the eggs I sold, and 1600 euros for the pallet of wool. Since the animals aren't earning us as much as we'd like just yet, we have to go back to the forest for some guaranteed money. I'm extremely relieved I managed to build this bridge so rapidly. Without access to this island, we would really be in a tough spot right about now. Trees are once again becoming my primary source of income, and they will finance the next machine acquisition. In theory, I'm only short about 1,000 euros, but I'd rather cut a little more wood, just to be safe. It's better to have a safe cash reserve and not zero out my account right after the purchase. Especially since on a farm, some sudden extra expense can always crop up unexpectedly. I made over 7,000 euros from this haul, so I can finally head to the shop and buy my first combine harvester. I ultimately settled on an old trusty Massey Ferguson combine harvester, costing 10,500 euros, plus a header for 2,800 euros. While visually this equipment may not be the most impressive, the most crucial aspect is that the machine remains fully operational and prepared for rigorous work. After purchase, I took the combine straight to the rapeseed field and began harvesting. I was really counting on getting the entire harvest done in one go, but unfortunately I was short by a few percent and had to go empty the tank. For 2,500 liters of rapeseed, I got nearly 8,000 euros at the point of sale. I immediately went to harvest the unfinished section, because with my tight budget and the Volcano's ticking clock, I simply cannot afford to incur any losses whatsoever. I truly feel my farm has ascended to an entirely new level of professionalism. After selling all the rapeseed, I have almost 15,000 euros in my account. That's a really solid amount, which gives me a lot of room to maneuver, but I'm not going to rest on my laurels. Instead of celebrating my success, I immediately get right back to work. I start making round bales from the straw that's left over after the harvest. My goal is to maximize the profit from every square meter of this field, so I'm making sure absolutely nothing goes to waste. Each bale of straw represents additional income, propelling me closer to acquiring more machinery and achieving my ultimate objective. I truly feel like I finally hit my stride. The rapeseed has been sold, the straw is now being collected, and my account balance is increasing at a pace I would have never anticipated just days ago. Naturally, these 3 straw bales, which I painstakingly created, must be sold to maximize the profits derived from this very field. Thanks to them, my balance is now almost 20,000 euros. It's amazing how quickly I managed to save up this much, starting from absolutely nothing. The time has come for another important investment that will open up a completely new source of income for me. I've made the decision to construct 4 greenhouses on my property, which will allow me to finally diversify my income and no longer depend exclusively on timber harvesting. Although the forest hasn't failed me yet, the knowledge of having a stable, regular income from greenhouse crops provides me with a significantly greater sense of security. However, generating income from these 4 greenhouses won't be as effortless or as passive as it might initially appear to be. I really need to remember to consistently provide water for my vegetables, because without adequate irrigation, the entire operation will simply grind to a halt. I decided to go with lettuce because after analyzing the market, it turned out to be the most profitable. This daily water delivery logistical task is another burden, but with the price of lettuce, it's definitely worth the effort. My farm is transforming into an increasingly intricate machine, where each individual component must operate in perfect harmony. The time has come to return to my roots and get back to mowing the grass. Selling silage is very good and easy money, which I simply cannot afford to pass up. Not if I'm determined to maintain the rapid growth rate of my farm. Additionally, I find the actual task of trimming the greenery quite satisfying, so it would truly be unwise to abandon an occupation that perfectly blends pleasure with productivity. Driving my tractor with the mower across the green meadow, each cut patch of grass means thousands more euros in my account. It's the very stable foundation of my business, providing me with a break from the more complicated logistics of the sawmill and greenhouses. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, I sincerely encourage you to hit that subscribe button. And if you're interested in playing on this map, or any of my other maps, I invite you to explore my Patreon. Now, the time has come to bale our freshly cut grass, and then wrap it in protective foil. I genuinely can't decide for myself which part of this entire process is the most satisfying and pleasing to the eye. Is it that moment when the machine ejects a perfectly formed, tightly packed bale, or when the wrapper covers the green bales in white foil? Each wrapped bale represents a guaranteed profit that will soon be credited to my account. Once the grass transforms into valuable silage, it's truly incredible how this simple act can bring such peace after the morning's hustle at the greenhouses and sawmill. I just remembered I still need to take care of my one and only field before I get swamped with today's other challenges. Now it's time to bring in the cultivator to properly loosen the soil, getting it ready to replant that rapeseed that brought in such good profits for me recently. As soon as the ground is prepared, I'll immediately start with the seeding, so I don't overlook it amidst the other duties that are still awaiting me. This field is the very foundation of my operation, so I absolutely cannot afford any delays in the crop cycle whatsoever. I still have a bit of budget left to spend, so now I'm going to make sure someone finally notices me on this island and comes to my rescue. I've decided to construct enormous signs that will distinctly appeal for assistance from any aircraft flying overhead or vessel sailing by. I'm using red barrels to construct the words SOS and help, strategically placing them on opposite ends of the island to significantly boost my chances of being rescued. I truly hope this vibrant red will perfectly contrast with the island's background, ensuring the signs are clearly visible from a great distance. This is a truly pivotal moment for me because even as my farm continues to expand, my ultimate goal still remains a safe escape from this perilous place. Setting up these two signals is my next life insurance policy. It, along with the sawmill and greenhouses, offers me a slim chance of returning to civilization before the volcano ultimately awakens. I decided to rest a little after a whole day of hard work, but as soon as I woke up, I was greeted by unexpected small hail hitting the roof of my tent. Without wasting a second, I quickly donned my helmet to protect my head from the onslaught of ice pellets that began to batter my farm. Now that my head is safe under the helmet, it's time to restock the sawmill so that plank production doesn't stop for a single moment. As you can see, I have over 50,000 euros in my account, so I can afford to make some investments. But it's precisely this hard work that enables me to multiply these amounts. It's well worth the dedication to replenish my raw material supplies, because it only involves felling 2 trees, and the value of the finished products far exceeds the quick sale of raw timber. This strategy is the key to my wealth. I process raw material into a high-paying commodity instead of getting rid of it for pennies. I went into the forest with renewed energy, knowing that these 2 logs would soon turn into piles of expensive long planks, which will push my account balance even higher. The sawmill is now fully restocked, and I'm heading off for a quick nap, allowing my productions ample opportunity to prove their worth and generate a considerably hefty profit for me. I've already got over 90,000 euros in my account, which is an incredible result. After a quick nap, it's time for my morning rounds on the farm to feed the chickens and sell a pallet of eggs, along with 2 pallets of wool. I made over 6,000 euros for those 3 pallets. I have noticed that my forest is slowly starting to run out of trees. So, with my earnings, I'm getting a professional planter and saplings. With a budget of over 100,000, I can afford an investment like this, which will ensure a steady supply of raw material for the sawmill in the future. I spent 28,500 euros on these purchases. This is a crucial step to make sure my long plank production never stops due to a lack of material. Reforestation ensures the very foundation of my business on this island. Now's the time to profit from my meadow's efforts and sell off all the accumulated silage. I was very worried about these bales because the hail and the sudden bad weather could have damaged the wrapping, which would have ruined the entire contents. But fortunately, everything remained perfectly intact. After delivering the load to the selling point and finalizing the transaction, I felt a huge sense of relief. Thanks to these few bales, my account balance instantly shot back up to over 90,000 euros. It's an amazing feeling to see the budget recover so quickly after the recent large expenses on the planter and new trees. A well-organized space is crucial, as looking for tools amidst chaos is merely a waste of precious time, which I have less and less of with my increasing responsibilities. That's why I decided to invest 4,000 euros into building another shed, ensuring that all the machines have their own dedicated spaces. And on top of that, it should also make the entire yard appear a lot more professional. When every machine has its designated spot, work goes much more smoothly, and I can focus on planning the next plank deliveries or checking on the greenhouses. Now that the foundations are in place, I truly feel that my operating base on this island is evolving into a genuine modern farm. The time has come for me to purchase a new, significantly larger cultivator. This will enable me to efficiently prepare the ground for my most recent investment. I need a more powerful machine to create an even larger field for crops. Even though available space on my islands is rapidly diminishing, I've chosen to place this fresh field right at the base of the volcano, not far from my existing smaller plot, and conveniently located in close proximity to that massive "Help Me" sign. I truly hope that the vibrant sight of colorful crops, coupled with the bright red barrels arranged to spell out SOS and HELP, will become even more striking, effectively grabbing the attention of anyone who happens to be near this island. This isn't just about farming, it's a calculated rescue strategy. A color combination like that, right under the volcano, will be hard to miss from the air. As you may have noticed, I invested nearly 14,000 euros in this equipment. However, it's a sound investment that significantly advances my plan to maximize the utilization of this land. I just discovered that I can actually generate and sell electricity, and all I need to do this is sawdust. Isn't that incredible? This is a brilliant solution, so I've decided to construct a small incinerator, which will allow me to further boost profits from every tree harvested. Now, this sawmill byproduct won't just accumulate in storage. Instead, it will be transformed into pure, hard cash, directly channeled from the energy grid. This construction cost me over 42,000 euros, but I'm counting on it paying for itself very quickly. I figured it would be good to restock the sawmill so the warehouse was full of raw material. With my budget, I could afford a relaxed logging session, but unfortunately I zoned out for a moment and accidentally sold the wood directly at the selling point. That's a tough lesson because every 2 trees cut and processed into planks are worth over 50,000 euros. But oh well, everyone makes mistakes sometimes, especially with this many responsibilities. After buying a bigger cultivator, it was time for a bigger seeder. This set me back 34,000 euros. After a quick refill of the tank, I immediately went to the field to begin planting. I've decided to plant soybeans in this new field, which has just been created right at the foot of the volcano. I really must admit that operating this specific seeder is an absolute pleasure. This machine flawlessly handles the somewhat challenging local terrain, and the sight of those perfectly sown rows, contrasting with my bold red SOS and help signs, fills me with immense pride. After I finished sowing soybeans in the new field under the volcano, I didn't waste a moment and headed back to the forest to oversee the transport of wood to the sawmill this time. Having learned from my last mistake, when I absent-mindedly sold the logs at the sell point for a fraction of their value, I was now fully focused, loading each log onto the trailer. I knew that these 2 felled trees were crucial to get my long plank production running at full steam and generate that promised 50,000 euro profit. Driving into the factory grounds with a full load was a huge relief. The raw material landed precisely where it was meant to. Then I recalled another extremely urgent task that, amidst the flurry of recent work, I had completely forgotten about. With all the chaos of building greenhouses, the sawdust incinerator, and putting up a new garage, it slipped my mind that the rapeseed in my smaller field was growing perfectly and is now fully mature. I sprang into action immediately, heading there with my old Massey Ferguson before the weather plays a trick on us again and hail or heavy rain destroys these valuable crops. The tank filled up to 100%, so I drove straight to the sell point to unload and sell the grain I'd managed to harvest. An extra 7,000 euros landed in my account. After that job, I have over 19,000 euros, so I'm parking the combine harvester and moving on. It's time for another round of logging and delivering fresh logs to the sawmill. I know perfectly well I've done this many times before, but my plan remains simple and effective. I want to clear out all the old trees in the vicinity and transform them into a substantial fortune. It's a bold move, but one I can afford to make with complete peace of mind, because my recent investment in a tree planter is already starting to pay off. The young saplings are just now breaking through the ground, reaching upwards to the sky. I'm entering the forest with a clear vision. Each cut log that goes to the sawmill means another 50,000 euros, bringing me closer to millionaire status on this island. And because I took care of forest regeneration, I don't have to worry about the environment or running out of raw material in the future. My plank factory is operating at peak capacity, and this new incinerator is eagerly awaiting sawdust, ready to convert it into pure electrical power profit. I have loaded a full trailer of wood and I'm now heading straight to the sawmill to unload it. After the rapeseed harvest, the next task was to tidy up the field and bale the remaining straw. It's a great way to make the most of every harvest. The rapeseed will go into the silo or be sold, and the straw will turn into extra cash. After I baled the straw, I immediately started a massive operation to cut down and transport as many trees as I possibly could, getting them all into my warehouse as quickly as possible. I likely won't have enough trees on these islands to completely fill the warehouse, as it can hold a full 100,000 liters. I'll cut down all the trees and we'll see how much I can gather. I'm delivering trailer loads of wood to the sawmill, one after another. The great moment has arrived. I've just delivered the last batch of wood to the sawmill, thus completing the extensive clear out of my lands. I look with pride at the warehouse gauge, which shows over 70,000 liters of raw material waiting to be processed. And at the end of this busy day, it's time to prepare my smaller field again for planting rapeseed. I simply cannot allow this land to remain barren, wasting its valuable potential while I simply rest. Using my brand new cultivator, preparing the field took literally no time at all. We began our operation simply by relying on logging, and now my business has transformed into a complex and perfectly well-oiled machine. The most significant breakthrough was establishing 4 lettuce greenhouses, which, due to their consistently stable price, became the absolute bedrock of my daily income, despite requiring regular water deliveries to sustain them. Every single one of my endeavors on this island, from the chicken farming to the advanced crop cultivation, the timber industry, and even energy production, has brought me to the best financial standing I've had since I first started my journey on this island. Sowing the rapeseed is almost finished, so there's really nothing left for me to do but simply wait for everything to grow, for the trees to start growing back, so I can finally get back to cutting them again. During that time, I'll have to keep a close eye on my animals and factories to make sure nothing runs out anywhere. We're definitely on the right path to escape this desolate volcanic island before that volcano blows its top. Sun has finally peeked out from behind the clouds, and a perfect calm has settled over the island. But this is just the calm before the storm. In today's episode, we'll go back to basics and start a massive tree felling operation, since they've finally reached their maximum size. To process raw materials faster, I'll invest in another sawmill to boost my production. But that's not all. New powerful machines will also be appearing on the farm. A modern harvester, a round baler, and a set of mowers for my big tractor. I also plan to build a concrete helipad, because the volcano rumbles louder, and time to escape is slowly running out. We're starting the day with business, driving into the soybean field below the volcano. This is historic, as it's likely the last time you'll see me in this harvester's cab. Even though the machine served me faithfully, with my expansion plans and enlarging the islands, it simply couldn't handle the load anymore. The sight of that smoking crater and my red SOS signs serves as a stark reminder that time is a luxury I simply cannot afford when I'm forced to work with outdated equipment. As the last rows of soybeans disappear into the old harvester's maw, I feel joy, but also relief that this is the end of this ordeal. My empire is growing. The fields under the volcano are becoming more and more massive, so I need a machine that properly represents the level of my farm. After selling the soybeans, I have over 100,000 euros in my account. With the money I've earned, I'm going into crude oil extraction. This black gold will ultimately finance my escape from this island. The money from the oil will enable me to construct a small airfield, suitable for the landing of a rescue helicopter. My empire under the volcano is becoming an energy powerhouse. From planks and lettuce to electricity from sawdust, all the way to my own oil wells. All of this is for one purpose only, to return home. Those prominent red SOS and help signs will soon serve as a crucial guide for my rescue. The land from the cut down trees finally gets its second life. Since this land has proven to be so profitable, it is high time to properly prepare it for the upcoming investment. I'm leveling out all the hills and uneven ground, because the upcoming investment requires a perfectly flat terrain. After all this extensive preparation, this is an ideal location to begin constructing a photovoltaic farm. My initial investment in solar energy totals 10,500 euros, and now I'm completing my final task of the day before I head off to bed. The rainy season is fast approaching, so I must hustle before the heavy downpours really get going and turn the ground into a muddy mess. A healthy dose of moisture is exactly what my fresh seedlings, along with the soybeans and rapeseed, need right now to truly shoot up and thrive. I made sure all productions have the essential materials gathered for operation, so the sawmill, incinerator and pumps will run without interruption, generating profit for me. 2 months of rain have passed, and over 179,000 euros have appeared in my account. I got to work right away and started expanding the island's terrain where the trees used to be. This is no longer merely cosmetic or just about leveling hills. Thanks to this, I gain an enormous amount of additional space that simply didn't exist before. New machines will also be working on this newly created land. After all these investments, I have nearly 200,000 euros to spend. I just spent 131,000 on a brand new powerful New Holland tractor, boasting over 300 horsepower. But the tractor alone isn't enough. I also had to buy a 6-meter wide cultivator for 23,800 euros. There's no time to waste, so I'm getting straight to work right away on this new expanded area. However, I must be extremely careful to ensure my costly New Holland tractor and wide cultivator avoid ending up in the water. I can't lose focus for a second because a moment of carelessness would cost me a fortune. I started by precisely marking the field boundaries, driving slowly right along the edge of the waterfront. Considering the significant amount of new land I've successfully reclaimed from the sea, it appears this will become the second largest field across my entire island. Its sheer size will be surpassed only by that colossal area situated right at the base of the volcano. Work with the newly purchased setup is going lightning fast. Just 2 or perhaps 3 more passes to go and our new field will be 100% completely finished. I've just prepared one field for sowing soybeans, but the other one is already ready for harvesting. I admit, I was a little too quick in announcing the retirement of my old combine harvester recently. It completely slipped my mind that there was still one more. This was the very first field I ever created on this island. There's rapeseed growing there, and it'd be a shame to leave it. Especially since I'll get a few bucks from it, which will really come in handy with my investments in oil and modern equipment. This field holds a significant piece of my farm's history, and this harvest perfectly concludes a long-standing chapter, before I permanently transition to the more robust new equipment that will be capable of handling these newly expanded territories. I'm selling all the rapeseed I managed to gather for over 7,000 euros. I had completed all my responsibilities, so I was free to head to my tent and allow my productions to generate some income for me. And all of this happened while I was sound asleep. A substantial amount of money finally appeared in my account. I've already got over 200,000 euros, and that's not all. I still have wool and rapeseed left to sell. I've got a strong feeling my empire is in the best shape it's ever been. From my initial tree felling, I have reached a point where every single branch of my business is now generating a massive income. After selling all the wool I produced, I now have over 223,000 euros in my account. I decided to sell everything that's unnecessary. The island has gotten too crowded with this old equipment that's just taking up space, and after my recent investments, there's no point in keeping it. The machines will share the same fate as my greenhouses. They proved less profitable than I'd expected, so I got rid of them without any regret. Instead of messing around with hauling water for lettuce, I'm focusing on solid profits from oil and huge soybean fields. I've now accumulated over 300,000 euros in my account, and each machine sold provides an additional boost of capital, which will be essential for acquiring a powerful combine harvester. But the initial upgrade, following the large-scale disposal of outdated machinery, is a brand new seeder, complete with a substantial stock of seeds and essential fertilizers. I've poured over 100,000 euros into all this, so it's high time to truly put this seeder to the test. The difference it makes is absolutely colossal. Now the sowing will be done in a flash. The working width allows me to cover an enormous strip of land in a single pass, and the machine just glides along at a very high speed. My blue New Holland barely registers any resistance, and from the comfort of my air-conditioned cab, I'm watching the island's second largest field quickly become covered with soybeans. This is the efficiency I've been waiting for. Instead of driving in circles with a small seeder, I'm getting real work done in record time. It's time to quickly put this extra cash to good use. I'll acquire several more crude oil pumps to substantially increase my earnings. I'm strategically placing them, which will greatly maximize my extraction and significantly accelerate my profits. A greater number of active machines forms the bedrock of my business, generating revenue even without my continuous direct supervision. Every liter of oil extracted brings me closer to building the airfield and escaping the island. The moment I've been waiting for has arrived. We're going back to basics. The trees I planted just prior to the rainy season have now finally reached their full maximum size. The forest is dense, fully grown, and ready for felling, providing me with another substantial opportunity to profit from timber and wood chips. Yet, a significant issue arises. The felling site is now quite distant from the production facilities requiring this raw material, which presents me with a serious dilemma. Will such an extended transport even prove to be cost-effective? I'm genuinely concerned that the expenses for fuel and the lost hours will render any profit from the timber negligible. I really need to figure out if it's worth risking transport with my current equipment, or if I need an entirely new strategy so I don't slow down the growth of the rest of my empire. After a moment of careful consideration, I truly believe there's only one logical decision I can make here. Rather than squandering precious time on transportation, I chose to construct a brand new sawmill immediately adjacent to my small woodlot. This way, the problems vanish instantly. Now the felled trees only need to be moved a mere few dozen meters, enabling me to process wood into planks with lightning speed, all without squandering fuel crisscrossing the entire island. This solution will undeniably save me a significant amount of time. Building a new sawmill right next to the source of the raw materials is a clear example of optimizing my business operations. Production ramped up quickly, and I don't worry about long transport cutting into profits, as everything's now close by. After starting up the sawmill, I still had some money left in my account, so I decided to spend it on a set of mowers. A rear mower for $35,000 and a front mower for $13,500. I invested just under $50,000, and as a result, the working width of my grass cutting equipment is now over 8 meters. This enables me to mow the grass in an instant, and if you too would like to play on this map, or indeed any of my other maps, and utilize the very same modifications that I do, then I cordially invite you to check out my Patreon. The link, of course, is in the description and in the top left corner of the screen. Thanks to the new mower set, cutting the designated area was done in the blink of an eye. I just have one more pass left to make, and then the entire island will be completely mowed down. After mowing the grass, I decided to head straight to my tent. It was time for some well-deserved rest. While I was sound asleep, over 550,000 euros in passive income landed in my account. I immediately headed to the shop, ready to spend 30,000 euros on a grass rake that boasts an impressive working width of over 9 meters. Up until this point, I had managed without a rake, but the field I just mowed with my new set of mowers is considerably larger than previous ones, so this investment truly became a necessary acquisition. The main reason for the purchase is to streamline my work as much as possible. With this rake, I'll be able to form wide and even rows of grass, which will significantly reduce the number of passes I'll need to make with the baler, a piece of equipment I also plan to purchase in the near future. Instead of driving chaotically all over the place, I'll be able to collect the entire swath quickly and precisely. This is yet another building block in creating a truly efficient farm. First, quick mowing with the New Holland and its mower setup, then efficient raking, and soon, professional baling will be next. This is all done to save valuable time and to prepare feed for my animals with the absolute minimal amount of effort possible. I chose a John Deere baler, and I'm totally convinced it's the absolute best decision I could have made. For just under 115,000 euros, it not only makes bales but also wraps them in foil so they can ferment and turn into silage. This saved me a significant amount of money and precious yard space because I didn't need to purchase a separate wrapping machine. This baler pairs perfectly with my blue New Holland. All the mown grass is quickly transformed into finished bales in the blink of an eye. The efficiency of this whole setup is truly incredible. Where it once took me a good half day to gather the grass, now I just make one pass, leaving behind perfectly neat, securely wrapped bales, ready for storage or for sale. This is absolutely crucial, because with my massive fields and rapidly expanding sheep flock, every single second I save in the field means more time to manage oil extraction or operations at the new sawmill. The moment has finally arrived. After selling off my old equipment and saving up a substantial amount of cash, I've invested in a brand new class combine harvester. I chose a medium-sized model because after carefully reviewing the shop's offers, I decided it had the best price to performance ratio. This machine, along with the header, cost me almost 300,000 euros. I attached a header 7.7 meters wide to it, and that, combined with the fact that its grain tank is more than twice the size of my previous machines, dramatically changes the entire game out in the field. The difference in work pace is evident to the naked eye. The biggest relief is no longer having to constantly drive up and interrupt the harvesting process just to unload the tank. Now I can harvest an entire field of this size without a single stop. With such a fantastic setup, even my second largest field doesn't feel like much of a challenge anymore. It's an absolute joy to witness the grain vanish so swiftly, transforming a task that was once arduous into a mere formality, completed under the most opulent circumstances. I've already managed to harvest the entire field of soybeans, so I'm heading straight to the selling point to top up my account with some extra cash. I earned 21,000 euros from that. The moment I've been striving for, ever since I cut down my first tree and extracted my first liter of oil, has finally arrived. It's time to construct the helipad which will serve as my sole escape route. The volcano is becoming more and more unpredictable, and I feel like it's giving me less and less time before the situation on the island becomes critical. I needed to act quickly and strategically, so I made the decision to expand the terrain adjacent to the shop. I constructed a small artificial island there, connected to the mainland by a narrow causeway. This ensured the machine had unimpeded access from all directions, preventing any collisions with existing infrastructure. Given my limited resources, a professional certified airport runway was a luxury I could only dream of having. However, I managed to handle it differently. I repurposed concrete ramps, which allowed me to construct a surprisingly stable and perfectly level landing platform. The entire structure is now perfectly visible from a great distance, which is critically important when making an approach for landing in challenging conditions. This helipad symbolizes my success and my ticket to freedom. Despite being homemade, it is robust and fully prepared to accommodate a helicopter. I've also installed powerful lighting. If rescue operations need to happen at night, the pilot will easily find their way to the target without any trouble. Before I advance to the final stages of the plan, I must get the backyard chaos under control. Months of intense expansion, battling the rain, and making rapid purchases have resulted in leftover pallets, empty fertilizer bags, and unnecessary scrap metal cluttering up every corner. It's time for a proper cleanup, so I can reclaim my space to operate freely. I'm setting up the machines under the shed. My blue New Holland, the brand new class harvester, and the John Deere set finally have their designated spots. A clean and organized yard gives me a crystal clear picture of the whole situation before my final escape. Now that the volcano is getting more dangerous, every second saved from looking for tools is worth its weight in gold. I'm buying another sawmill for 180,000 euros because the wood supply is too large for one production line. Now I'm going to double my processing speed and profits. A quick nap in the tent, and then, immediately after waking, I'll head out to fell trees, aiming to maximize the use of these new machines before the final evacuation takes place. Right after I wake up, I get straight to work, taking full advantage of what promises to be an exceptionally prosperous day. The weather is perfect. It's very warm, the sun is shining, and there isn't a single cloud in the sky that could signal the return of those annoying rains. In these conditions, tree felling is going lightning fast, and I feel a new surge of energy to get things done. There's absolutely no indication that anything could go awry, so with a completely clear mind, I'm able to fully concentrate on operating all of the equipment and efficiently stocking the next sawmill with a fresh supply of perfectly stacked logs. With 2 sawmills at my disposal now, there will be an enormous improvement in the speed of my work. The raw material I'm collecting goes almost immediately to the production line, ensuring the yard doesn't get clogged with an excessive amount of wood. The sun warms everything around, and the sweet scent of freshly cut trees permeates the air, which only heightens the immense satisfaction of a business so perfectly planned. Every fallen tree means another batch of planks and sawdust, bringing me closer to finalizing all my plans before leaving the island. I'm making the absolute most of this favorable weather, well aware that in this climate conditions can radically shift in the blink of an eye. However, at that very moment, something completely unforeseen occurred. I absolutely did not anticipate that my adventure could conclude precisely now, and in such an abrupt manner. The tsunami destroyed everything but the forest. Buildings are gone, oil pumps are broken, needing a total rebuild. I must start from scratch, working faster, smarter than before. My primary goal is to build a radio tower. I must establish contact with civilization to summon assistance. I'll use the surviving trees as my only available resource to build the structure and restore contact with the world. This is my sole chance for rescue before the volcano erupts once more. I'm starting with absolutely nothing. A huge wave took everything, leaving me not even €1. My only surviving possession is an old chainsaw that miraculously survived the tsunami's impact. It must now become the very foundation for this entire reconstruction endeavor. I'm heading towards the forest, the only thing that survived the cataclysm, to cut down the first trees and slowly start gathering some funds to survive. However, a huge logistical problem arises. The old wood collection point is too far away. Without machines, transporting wood over such a distance is impossible and unprofitable. Therefore, my priority is to earn my initial funds to establish a new collection point directly adjacent to the forest. Right here, on higher ground, my new base will be established. I must be methodical. First, cut wood for the collection, then buy a new tent, as I've no roof over my head. Now that the collection point and the tent are in place, I can focus on cutting down more trees. Having the raw material selling point right here under my nose gives me tremendous comfort, making my work significantly quicker and more productive. I no longer waste energy on transport. I'm just focused on operating the saw. It's truly lucky that this simple tool survived the wave's impact. Without it, rebuilding anything would be impossible. The memory of the tsunami still gives me chills. I had to flee almost to the very top of the volcano, seeking refuge from the destructive water that took everything in its path. On one hand, the ocean's fury was chasing me, and on the other, I was terrified of the potentially erupting volcano. It was truly a terrifying experience, showing me the fragility of everything I had built. But now, standing on new ground with a safe place to rest, I feel like I'm regaining control. Each felled tree isn't just a source of income, it's a way to silence those memories, and a tangible step toward constructing the radio tower. After that extreme effort and fight on the volcano's slopes, it's time for a deserved rest. I lie in my new tent, hearing the forest's rustle and the mountain's steady breath. First thing in the morning, I get to work with one specific goal:
I really need to gather 50,000 euros. This sum is absolutely essential to construct the radio tower and establish contact with civilization. It's my only ticket back to normality, so every second with the saw in my hand is now critically important. Work's proceeding smoothly, yet I'm noticing a grave issue. The forest that survived is not infinite. Trees are depleting, so I must manage this resource extremely carefully. My strategy has to be twofold. Save up for the tower, but also leave myself a financial margin for a planter and new saplings. If I cut everything down and I'm left with bare land and no money to replant the forest, my economy will collapse before help arrives. Each log heads to the collection point and my account grows. It's a race against time and resources. I must erect the radio mast before cutting the last tree on this island. Done. After brutal logging, my account finally shows 50,000 euros. I'm building a solid radio tower structure at the highest point of my new base. It's my only link to civilization. I'll mount the antenna, connect power, and fire up the transmitter. The red diode signals readiness, and I'm initiating the broadcast of a distress signal across all available bands. Volcanic Island survivor here. Can anyone hear me? Over.
We read you loud and clear. This is the Odysseus Rescue Unit calling out. We've pinpointed your signal. However, it'll take us a number of months to reach your exact coordinates.
The voice on the radio was direct. Help will arrive in a few months, and the evacuation will be by helicopter due to the shallows. My important job is to prepare the necessary supplies of diesel, all lubricants, and fresh food and milk for the crew. This is my ticket home, so I have to get production back up and running immediately. Instead of just surviving, I now absolutely must rebuild the fuel infrastructure and establish animal pens. I've got a lot of work ahead of me, but the goal is clear. I'm starting with a major cleanup. My yard and fields are littered with the wrecks of oil pumps, which are now just useless scrap metal after the tsunami. I really need to remove all these redundant structures to clear up space for a new and more efficiently planned infrastructure. It's painful. Each pump is a symbol of lost money, but I can't move forward without clearing the area. After I remove the scrap, I'll have a clean slate to rebuild my little empire. I won't blindly place machines now. Each new pump must be part of an efficient system producing diesel and lubricants for the rescue crew. I'm heading back to the forest, but this time I'm changing my tactics. Instead of running with each log, I'm cutting several trees at once, one after the other. I fell them sequentially, to stockpile raw materials in one location. Only when there's a solid pile of wood on the ground do I start making trips to the collection point. I think this will be much faster and more efficient. Every second is worth its weight in gold now, because I need to quickly raise funds to repair the first pump and buy saplings, so my forest doesn't disappear forever. Immediately after selling the wood, I made my way directly to the dealer to reclaim my very first tractor. The very same machine that kicked off my entire adventure on these islands. It's humble, yet in this situation, worth more than any modern harvester. I also bought a basic cultivator for the tractor. Without it, I'm doomed. But heading out to the field turned out to be a painful reality check. The land that was once teeming with life now looks like a battlefield. The tsunami left behind a thick layer of mud, and the salt water ruined the soil. All I see is grey, sticky sludge, with some grass poking through. I knew it would be tough, but not this tough. Cultivating crops here will be a giant challenge. I need to loosen up this compacted mess, aerate it thoroughly, and ready it for planting, all the while hoping the sea salt won't scorch everything I sow. Every pass with the tractor through this mud is a fight for the future crops that will feed me and the rescue team. Even though the terrain is tough, I'm slowly turning this swamp into a field. I'm not wasting a single minute. Right after running the cultivator over the field, while the soil is still somewhat loose, I start sowing. First up is the wheat. It's truly the most versatile choice for these difficult times. On one hand, selling it will help me patch up my budget, and on the other, I'll gain invaluable feed for the chickens I plan to acquire shortly. Everything's truly starting to come together and make perfect sense. The chickens will provide eggs, an ideal food item for the rescue team's emergency supplies. Even though the soil is still heavy and filled with silt, I'm hoping that the wheat will prove resilient enough to push through this devastated battlefield. Now all I can do is wait, and make sure this volcanic earth finally starts to pay for itself. After all the stress of planning the rescue and fighting the mud in the field, it's time to get back to my roots. In my case, it's a literal statement. I must fix my budget, because without cash, I can't buy feed or oil pump parts. Cutting and selling wood is my most reliable income right now. I'm working methodically, felling more trees, cutting them into even logs, and hauling them to the newly built collection point. Every single course provides a crucial cash injection, bringing me closer to acquiring more machinery and significantly expanding my operational base. I need to earn enough so I don't have to worry about the foundations of my little empire, and can be sure that when the rescue team finally appears on the horizon, all the supplies will be waiting at the landing zone. I immediately invest my earnings in a planter and the first batch of saplings. This is key. I'm going back to the cleared land and starting the tedious forest renewal process. Every young tree planted in the ground is a guarantee that in time I'll have something to cut down and sell again. My little patch of forest is slowly regaining its form. Although the saplings will take time to grow, I feel a sense of calm, knowing I've secured the future of my operation. Finally, I can focus on next steps, bringing me closer to evacuation. Now that the saplings are safely in the ground and working for my future, I can start cutting down the last of the old trees without feeling guilty. These are my primary source of funding now, and I must convert them into hard currency to finance the acquisition of heavier equipment. My small farm truly needs proper machines to handle this mess far better than just me and my old tractor ever could. Each account transfer brings me closer to professionalizing this survival fight. I need a more efficient seeder, better tools for cows, and most importantly, parts to reactivate the refinery. The old forest vanishes, replaced by new. A rebuilding milestone. On the ruins of the old system, I've set up the first oil extraction site. This is the core of my future diesel and lubricant production. Without it, the worst case scenario would be inevitable. The sight of the active oil extraction pump gives me hope that I'll have enough time to prepare all the fuel reserves before the Odyssey finally arrives. Concurrently, I began food production. I set up the first greenhouse, the only way to get healthy crops in this tsunami and salt-damaged area. I planted absolutely everything there, from tomatoes, cucumbers to lettuce and radishes. Finally, it's time to ease up a bit. My little empire is coming to life. The oil pump is working, and in the greenhouse the first vegetables are sprouting under cover. I sat in front of my tent, watching the young tree saplings slowly straightening themselves in the wind. My new trees have finally shot up and are ready for harvesting. There must have been a major mix-up when I picked up the saplings. Instead of my standard slender pines, completely different trees have grown. They're considerably shorter, yet tremendously thick. I'm viewing this initial purchasing error with a touch of unease now, for even though there appears to be abundant raw material, prepping these colossal logs for market will pose quite a challenge. My chainsaw must run at maximum output, and cutting through trunks this thick takes me twice as long as it normally would. I hope the amount of wood makes up for all this over time. Even if processing them takes more time, each log still appears to be a substantial cash injection, exactly what I need to expand the refinery and acquire some cows. It was a truly excellent decision. Though these short, thick trees demanded more effort, their mass yielded a substantial profit. I focused. I decided to go big and invested in a larger combine harvester. This is a colossal machine, an absolute giant compared to my trusty old tractor with its humble cultivator. The sight of this beast in the wheat field is pure satisfaction. I truly feel like I'm finally regaining control over this entire area. Its biggest asset proved to be its massive tank. Because of it, I don't have to constantly interrupt my work, drive the tractor over with a trailer, and waste time transferring loads. I can just focus on driving and harvest the entire field in one go. It's a huge time saver, and time is very precious to me right now. This harvester isn't just about convenience, it's the foundation of my food plan for the rescue team. Now with such a supply of grain, I can really get started with raising chickens. This was a crucial step in my strategy. With a full tank of freshly harvested wheat, I immediately invested in chickens, who will now diligently gather provisions for the Odyssey crew. I had to find a safe shelter for them quickly. I took care of them right away. I scattered the golden grain, and the sight of the birds swarming to the food was undeniable proof that my arduous work in the field had certainly not been in vain. It's a living protein factory. Eggs are one of the best products I can offer the rescuers. Once the hen house was full and set up, I took the rest of the wheat I didn't need to the collection point. My wallet was bulging with cash again. Now that food production is in full swing and the chickens are starting to settle in, I can calmly think about the next elements of my plan. The sun is slowly sinking below the horizon. After such an intense day, from cutting those strange, thick trees, to harvesting wheat with the new harvester, and setting up the hen house in the old sawmill, my body is truly demanding regeneration. I will wake up at dawn. There's no time to celebrate yesterday's successes. I have only one goal in sight: the refinery. It's without a doubt going to be the most expensive and complicated investment I have ever constructed on this entire island. Without it, the oil in the tanks is merely black sludge, and the Odyssey's captain explicitly stated that without fuel and lubricants, the return mission is truly jeopardized. I grabbed my saw and rushed into the forest. This time there will be no selective logging. I need cash here and now. The saw's engine roar drowns out the ocean's hum. I'm cutting down tree after tree with the determination of a man who sees the finish line. Each trip to the collection point brings me thousands of euros closer. The balance in my account is growing, but the cost of the refinery is astronomical. The work's brutal, the forest vanishes fast, but I know it's a necessary sacrifice. I have to finish before the next radio call, so I can proudly report that fuel production is underway. This will undoubtedly be the most challenging engineering phase I've encountered throughout my entire career on this island. Building a refinery isn't like putting up a simple shed or chicken coop. It's a complex processing plant, one that truly demands a perfectly level and stable foundation. The problem, the best site for this investment, near the port and extraction areas, is partly submerged by water from the tsunami. I meticulously check every square meter of the ground with a level in my hand. One single mistake with the foundation could cause the distillation pipes to crack, and with my life on the line, I absolutely cannot afford that. Working heavy equipment in mud and water is exhausting, but knowing I'm laying the foundation for my ticket home gives me an incredible drive. When I finally manage to level the ground and create a solid, dry platform, I feel a huge sense of satisfaction. Now I've found the perfect spot. I'm just one step away from proudly reporting to the captain that fuel production is now running at full capacity. Everything's falling into place. Food, milk are next. I am almost 100% ready to make my escape from this volcanic hell. I'm almost 100% ready to escape this volcanic hell. No time to rest. The refinery is a priority, but without grass, no milk. Without milk, the rescuer deal fails. I drove the tractor to the old field, which the tsunami had turned into a barren swamp. The operation is quick, yet quite demanding. I meticulously clear the land of all deposited waste and straw, and then sow a hardy grass variety that can truly thrive in these challenging conditions. This field will be crucial for my future cows. On the way back, I'm not wasting fuel on an empty run. I pull into the field where I recently harvested wheat with my new harvester. The stubble is quite dry, so I need to swiftly prepare it for the next crop. I know every bump in this terrain by now. The day is slowly coming to an end, and I've got 2 fields prepped. One for fresh grass, and the other ready for new grain. My little empire is becoming more and more professional. I get to work, returning to the areas I prepared earlier. In the first field, I'm planting rapeseed. It's a risky but very profitable investment, and any extra financial surplus will be useful for finishing the refinery and buying the systems to produce lubricants. The sight of the yellow flowers that will soon bloom here will also be a sign that my farm is returning to its former glory. Then I move to the second field and sow grass, as planned. This spot isn't for direct profit from silage sales, it's to be the cornerstone of my milk production. The thick, lush grass will serve as the sole food source for the cows I intend to purchase within the next few days. I have to ensure that when the animals arrive in their enclosure, they'll have an abundant supply of fresh feed. I work with precision, taking care of every meter of sown land. Now that the grains and seeds are nestled in the soil, this brief moment of respite has truly helped me regain clarity of thought. I knew I couldn't delay developing the livestock sector any longer, because the cows would require time to acclimate and start producing milk in quantities sufficient to satisfy the entire crew of the ship. So, I went to the dealer and finalized the purchase of a small but modern barn and the first few cows. Strategically, I positioned the barn right next to my newly established grass field. This will make feed transport super fast. Now I pretty much have everything. Chickens laying eggs, greenhouses working at full capacity, and cows that will soon fill the churns with fresh milk. Right after buying the equipment, I head out to the field, because the grass has already grown quite a bit. I have to admit, it's been a really long time since I've done this. The mowers and the smell of freshly cut grass remind me of the time before the tsunami. It's an incredibly satisfying task that allows me to clear my head of all those technical worries for a little while. Unfortunately, a mistake I made during my shopping trip quickly becomes obvious. The mower I spent a lot of money on has some kind of design flaw or poorly adjusted blades. It leaves an annoying, uncut strip almost right down the middle of its path. It's truly frustrating, as I now must drive in a peculiar, inefficient manner, with each pass overlapping. But I simply don't have the time for complaints, sales, or to search for a new model. The Odyssey is getting closer. Since this machine still cuts, despite its flaw, I'll just have to put up with it. It looks messy, but at least my cows will finally get to eat. I waste no time. Harvesting starts instantly. Despite the mower's little tricks, the grass is exceptionally thick and juicy. That bodes well for the milk quality. I load everything onto the trailer and head towards the pen. I really don't want my very first herd to suffer hunger any longer, due to errors in equipment purchases on my part. The cows started eating immediately, and that specific peaceful atmosphere settled over the island. Taking care of the animals isn't just a matter of business and the contract with the rescuers. For me, it's proof that order has returned to this island. Now that my animals' bellies are full, I can be certain that the milk cans won't be completely empty in the morning, which is a great relief. I've secured enough feed for the next few days, so I can put the farm machinery away for a bit. Farming and livestock raising are now on a very stable track. The chickens are laying eggs, and the rapeseed in the neighboring field is slowly pushing up through the soil. This is the perfect moment to finally concentrate all my energy and remaining funds on the most complicated part of it all. These powerful points of light, now marking the landing zone, genuinely instill in me a tremendous sense of security. My operations center will be visible from many kilometers away. This is no longer a makeshift drop zone, but a professional evacuation point. But there's no time to admire the lights. Harvest time is here. The rapeseed was perfectly ripe. I immediately started combining. I really appreciate its efficiency and the huge tank, letting me harvest without downtime. The rapeseed harvest is pure profit for me. Every acre turns into gold dust. I need the extra funds like I need air, because building the refinery is a financial bottomless pit. I have to be sure I'll have enough for the final stages of the plan. Work is in full swing, and I feel a sense of satisfaction seeing my farm generate huge income again after such a long break. Everything's falling into place. The lit landing strip awaits. The chickens and cows are well looked after, and a full combine harvester tank brings me even closer to finalizing this truly massive investment. I managed to build quite a lot, but the time has finally come for my evacuation. It truly was the last possible moment, because right after the helicopter lifted off with me and the supplies, the volcano erupted and destroyed absolutely everything. I watched from above as a massive explosion rips the crater apart, and rivers of lava instantly devour my refinery, the barn, and the fields I put so much work into. The sight is both terrifying and majestic at the same time. The fire is consuming the fruits of my labor, but I'm already safe. I managed to take what was most important: food supplies for the rescuers and the fuel that will get us to our destination. Although my small empire no longer exists, I am truly winning this battle, leaving behind only smoke and ash.